Dedications and teaching Barav Kevin Marathon. Damon.
So dedicated for all the Cholim of Klal Israel, speedy refuah shlema for all, and for the soldiers fighting the current war, that they may be victorious in eliminating and eradicating the enemy and returning home safely, and that the remaining hostages are reunited with their families.
Amen.
Amen.
Just something short. I'll try to be as brief as possible. So I looked at something on Tachanun, and it says that Tachanun says you confess your sins every day. This is from a reputable website called My Jewish Learning. And confessing your sins every day, twice a day for the rest of your life, on days that you say Tachanun, not on Chagim, not on Rosh Chodesh, not if there's a Chatan or a bris, or a father of a boy that's about to be bris in the shul. So it was instituted by in King David's time, and it says here when the prophet God offered King David the choice of who should punish the monarch for the grave sin of taking a census, and that is counting Jews. You don't count Jews like in the normal way, in the manner as he did it. He didn't do it according to the Torah. David replied, "Let us fall, I pray you, into the hand of the Lord, for his mercies are many, but let me not fall into the hand of men." And so Tachanun is recited from Sunday to Friday, and on Mondays and Thursdays there's a longer version of Tachanun. And the reason for that, and those are Torah reading days, Mondays and Thursday mornings, starts with the words V'hu Rachum, and it says basically Mondays and Thursdays are seminal events in Jewish history, because the golden calf episode of the golden calf, Moshe ascended Mount Sinai on a Thursday, the first of Elul, to receive the second set of the tablets, and he descended 40 days later on a Monday, on Yom Kippur, carrying with him only the tablets of the law, but also Hashem's forgiveness for Israel's original sin. Okay, so that's and you don't say Tachanun on Rosh Chodesh as well, and during Chol HaMoed you don't say Tachanun, Chol HaMoed Pesach, Chol HaMoed Sukkot as well, on the intervening days. Okay, I just thought I didn't find anything interesting in the Parsha that I wanted to give across. I thought let's go over that.
It is interesting. Maybe what you can do is during the 8 days of Hanukkah, you can share a couple of ideas and get together, whether it be a bit of halacha, whether it be a bit of this or that. So just
I must be all fired up for that one, Damon.
And you'll be a beacon of light to us.
Yes.
Speaking
wax
of
lyrical, yes. Okay. Well oiled.
To get that set at kosher world, that Chabad set with the thing of matches for us, with the candles.
Yeah.
Do you have one? Because you got the car.
No, I don't. I have to get.
Oh, you can get it that day. Yeah, that's true. The kosher.
I can go past this evening and get. In case they run out, I'll go past this evening.
Can you get?
I've got Willie coming shortly. Once Willie started and going, then I can go out and I'll go get us.
Can I ask you something? You'll get me that, and
Sure.
if you found there, which I haven't been able to find at Genesis, they don't stock kernels for popcorn. I'll pay you back. I'll pay you back for buying.
No, that's fine. I'll have a look if they have it there with pleasure.
Because in the evening, sometimes if I watch something, it's quite light to make popcorn. It's not expensive also. It's actually not expensive. Get us a box of matches. I'll never use matches for anything else. I don't smoke. Do you use matches for anything else?
No, I don't. I use lighters.
What I'm saying is when you get us a single box of matches, there's like about 100 matches. We break the box where each of us can have a filament in the matches. It'll be enough for 8 days. We'll buy a single box of matches.
You mean you have to use a box, eh?
Well, how else are we going to light?
I mean, you
can't
can't.
use my tongue.
No, I'm saying you can't use a lighter. Also, it's not right. It's not appropriate. So you
No,
have
you
to
can.
use.
You can. I just don't
Yeah.
have a lighter.
Oh, so can I? So I don't need matches at all. Then you keep the matches. I've got about 4 lighters here, man.
Oh, well, can you lend me a lighter for the 8 days?
Yeah, I can, but it runs out of gas. So if you run out of gas, then you got trouble.
No, it's not, because you light one candle and you use the shemen,
Seamus.
shemes
Yeah,
to
it's fine.
light everything else.
I'll give you a lighter.
Shamash.
I'll fill it up with gas before, just hope it doesn't
You
die.
don't
It
have to
shouldn't.
fill it up. Out of 4, you might find one that'll give me 8 shots.
Yeah, it should be enough. All right, I'll give it
Why
to you. So
would
then
you
I'll give
keep?
you a lighter.
Okay, why would you keep an empty lighter?
No, because they empty out very quickly, eh? They empty out after like a few days. I don't know. They don't last. It's not like you don't like fill it up once a month. It's probably about once a week.
Well, maybe this will be a miracle that it will be extend us for 8 days. So just give me
That's
one
what I'm saying. It's
lighter,
basically once a week. But
and I'll give
but
it
you're
back
not
to you.
using it a lot. You're just going to light the first one. That's it.
Yes, that's
And the
it.
rest, no, so it will last. It will last, yeah.
So
I'll just put it up before I
get
put
us
it.
2 menorahs, the one with the candles, the Chabad one. They're cheap. And if you remember popcorn kernels, if you don't, it's fine. But just the main thing is
Oh,
that.
there's a
It's
shop
fine.
in the
I've got it.
Sandringham Strip, a disposable store, the one next to
Yeah.
Fireworks. I bought a set there, like the Chanukia there, and candles. You can buy there. They have stock also.
You know what? They open till 7. That's yeah. So it depends when Willie comes. All right, guys, let me teach you. Gav, thank you. And they also have popcorn kernels there, by the way. I'll pay you
So
back.
where's that? Where's the other place on the strip? What did you? I didn't hear what Kevin
Next
said
to
properly.
next to the Fireworks, there's a big disposable store, and they had
Oh, they
I
open till
need
7.
sell Chanukias there as well.
No, they're
Yeah,
not
Yeah, I
open
know
to.
where it is.
They're not
Yeah,
open
they'll
to
be the
7.
cheapest. They're not.
that's $50.
Yeah, but they sell it special at Kosher World on purpose as a discount, because they try to encourage people to do the mitzvah Chabad. It's part of Chabad. So try
Yeah,
it out.
I also remember paying about $50. I don't think it's
Yeah,
much more. I
it's
think
not
it's
more.
fine.
It's
All
not
right,
more.
I'll just go to Kosher World. All right, perfect. Because
All
that's
right,
open. I
guys,
know.
can I do some
Yeah, you can
revision
start.
on the Gemara? We don't have a full session. I don't want to get into anything new. I want to make things clear because I also went for a sleep. I've been feeling a bit lousy. I don't know if it's the heat. And I did a heavy
And I
gym
didn't
session last night with my nephew. Heavy.
and I didn't sleep at all last night as well. So I'm also feeling wet. I'm terrible though.
It's the
But I'll
heat.
do my best.
All right, so it's better than doing new stuff. Otherwise, all right. So, guys, remember the first Mishnah, part of 114a, we dealt with, 114b, we dealt with Shimon, who recognized Reuven had his goods, and Reuven said, no, he bought it from a chap at the flea market. But when they went to investigate, this person paid the day's worth of rent at the flea market, and he was nowhere to be seen. So then we discussed there was this biblical concept that obviously if there was no Yush or change of domain, even if there was a change of domain, but if there was no despair on the part of the victim, and Reuven hadn't given up, Shimon has to return it to him under biblical law. And then there was the remedy of the marketplace, which says that the buyer is offered some protection, and he basically doesn't have to give it back under those circumstances. Otherwise, nobody would buy from the marketplace. Now, generally, there is a concept where that would have to have taken place, that discussion before Yush, because all agree if it was a circumstance, as we learned in the previous Gemara in 114 in Daf Aleph section of 114, then in that particular case, when we're talking about Tuma and the susceptibility of a utensil Tuma, and it was a process, it didn't require further processing, then the only person that could make that decision was the owner of the article. So it could only be a thief or a robber under certain circumstances, according to the Tanna Kamma and Rabbi Shimon. I'm not going to go through that, but the bottom line is, if there was Yush on the part of the victim with that change of domain, then what that would mean is that the hard susceptibility could be determined by the new owner, which was the thief or robber. Obviously, one of the mechanisms that Kevin asked a great question is, well, how do you know there's Yush? And we use the example of the Tanna Kamma, which is a general rabbinic opinion, that if there was a robber, but you knew the guy was just the local drunk at the bar, there's not really such a problem, because you could take him to court and say, listen, you're in a half-drunk state, you grabbed my laptop, you went home because you thought you could sell it for a bit of drugs and booze. But I know who you are, you're just a lowlife, but you're not very scary. But with a thief that's tunneling into your place, you don't know who he is. And therefore, Kevin wanted to know, what do you do? And in that circumstance, you give up because you don't know who the heck the guy is. According to Rabbi Shimon, it says, no, it's a different example. You give up with the robber because the robber, who's prepared to be armed and would steal in broad daylight, is not afraid of the law, could also make witnesses disappear because he's got henchmen and mafiosi working for him. So you're not going to bring a legal case. You can kiss your stuff goodbye. You're not going to get it back. Therefore, your wish has taken place. But in the case of the thief, you will get your stuff back because you had 3 people for Friday night. Your Fabergé egg went missing. And it's got to be one of the guests. It's like Cluedo, who did it? So as long as you can work it out, you don't give it up. So in the case of the robber, you give up, but in the case of the thief. So they're opposite opinions. But bottom line is, according to the circumstance where the victim's given up, for sure that person then has the item. And if it's a hard that he wants it to be a tablecloth, doesn't require further processing, his mind can make that a clear vessel of utility. When we say a utensil, we don't mean a kitchen utensil, we mean of utility, of use. And therefore, if he drops it in a vat and it contains a dead sheriff, that's the only context that we brought it out. That was in Kalim. So now we're saying, all right, so the first thing, we know this whole issue. Now, what if the thief that was unidentified is discovered? So we say there's 2 opinions. Rav said in the name of Rav Chia, if one stole articles and sold them and afterwards the thief was discovered, the claim is only against the thief. Okay? Because the owner has the right to collect monetary compensation from the thief. There's no claim against the buyer. Even if the buyer hasn't legally acquired the stolen articles through Yush and a change of domain, for sure, in that case, he must certainly return it. For sure, there's no question. But in that case, the owner still has to compensate the buyer for his loss. Okay, so just listen carefully. Rav said in the name of Rav Chia, the buyer is still having to be compensated for his loss. Why? Because the original owner has recourse only against the thief. So if the buyer is protected by the remedy of the marketplace, and Gavin bought it legitimately, is having his my stuff, Gavin's going to say, listen, I want money. And if there's another person that's a thief that's been discovered, Gavin's going to say to me, listen, I'm not handing it over. You've got a legal case according to Rav's opinion of Rav here, that you can only litigate against the thief. So you pay me what I paid for it. I'll take a shavua what I paid for it. And I identified the thief. You could worked out who was at the Rosebank flea market that day in Ahmed, because I'm not very pro Hamas at the moment, sold it to me. And I should say to you, Gavin, you should know better than buying from Ahmed. But anyway, in that particular case, I have to pay Gavin. Gavin bought it legit. And therefore, I've got a legal case against Ahmed or Levi, whoever it is that sold it to Gavin. So I've got no business demanding it from Gavin, according to Rav's opinion of Rav here. Not everybody agrees. Rav Yochanan said in the name of Rav Yanai, the claim of the owner is also against the second one being the buyer. Okay? So in other words, me as the original victim, when it was stolen from me, I have the option of collecting money. Well, monetary compensation in the form of an EFT or any sort of monetary compensation from the thief, or recovering my property from the buyer without paying him. That's the issue. Because as long as the thief is discovered, I can say to Gavin, listen, you got the goods. I don't have to pay you. You should have checked that when you were buying from Ahmed, when he had a gold-capped tooth and smiled at you real sharply, that the oak wasn't legit. So therefore, you give me my goods back, and you sue Ahmed. I'm actually the innocent party here. You're the buyer that should be a bit more aware. I've actually done nothing wrong. You might be less to blame than the thief, but you're legally depriving me of my goods. So halachically, that's the definition of the thief. It's mine. So I don't have to do a remedy of a marketplace. The only time I have to do that is when the thief is not found. But since the thief is found, Gavin, my responsibility now is to get my goods back, and you sue the thief. Your transaction was with him. Or I can sue the thief myself. The only point of contention, it seems here, in terms of both of those opinions, is that, well, who's actually to blame? Because we can see there's certain points of agreement between Rav and Rav Yochanan. What do they agree with? Well, the owner has the right to sue the thief himself. That part they both agree with. They also both agree that the buyer must return the stolen items, providing there was no Yush and a change of domain. And it wouldn't be Yush that would take place unless there would be a sufficient amount of time that had transpired, and there was years that went by and there was hardly any hope of getting it back. But principally, unless that occurs, Gavin must give me back the goods as the buyer. The only point of contention is whether the owner, upon receiving his property, is required to compensate the buyer. Do I have to pay Gavin, or can I tell Gavin to go directly to the person that sold him the goods and claim from him? Do you get what I'm saying? That's their issue of contention. Okay. So the Gemara suggests there's actually no dispute according to Rav Yosef, because Rav Yosef is saying, look, in Rav Yochanan's ruling, where it says that there's a claim against both the buyer and the thief, that's a case before the owner's despair, in which case the claim of the owner is also against the buyer to return the stolen goods without receiving compensation. But in Rav's ruling, the reference is to goods that were sold after the owner's despair, in which case the buyer acquired them through despair and a change of domain. And thus the claim of the victim is only against the thief and not the buyer. So accordingly, according to Rav Yosef, both of them, who's them, Rav Yochanan and Rav, agree with Rav Chisda's ruling. As we said, it was in the 111th daf. And we said that if one person stole something and another consumed it, so that's the third party, prior to the owner's yush, the owner can collect compensation from either party. Do you remember that this whole reason for Rav Chisda's opinion is that one who takes hold of stolen goods prior to yush, despair and a change of ownership, although he didn't actually steal it from the owner, he has the legal status of a thief and its attendant liabilities. What does it mean? It means he's holding back the item from the original owner. So if he consumed it, he has to replace them. Okay, he has to replace them. Now, it's different in a case when the thief has not been discovered, because the buyer would be rabbinically entitled to compensation from the owner because of that rule, the remedy of the marketplace. But in the present case where the thief has been discovered, the owner doesn't even have a rabbinic obligation to pay the buyer, because the buyer can retrieve his money from the thief. That's according to Rashi. Okay, so we've got a plausible explanation by Rav Yosef. A buyer disagrees with it. Not we say a buyer, a purchaser. A buyer, the Tana, A-B-A-Y-E. Okay, just to clarify it. Okay, so there's Rav Yosef's opinion that they're in fact not in a disagreement. A buyer said that to Rav Yosef, there is a disagreement. You can't say it's this issue of Yush. Why? Because Gavin, as a Kohen, would know, in Chulin 132a, it brings forward from Deuteronomy, Devarim, chapter 18, verse 3, and we are commanded that... pardon?
I'll come down. Damon, sorry, I've got Willie outside. Just give me a second.
Okay. Kevin, is this explanation that I'm giving you now like helping make it just a bit simpler?
Yeah, you're explaining clearly.
Okay, can you give it over?
But
But you're
I
getting
can give
it.
over, but I can't.
I'm saying, are you feeling a little bit more clarity now? Because I think sometimes when we have it as a casual conversation, you're getting to see the issues at hand. And when a person first deals with all these separate technicalities, it's a problem. Because you've got this technicality and this and this and this. And when you weave it all together, it just flows better. Does it make sense?
That's the thing with you were saying that the Yush, if the buyer, or the purchaser, it's like a. I'm just a bit tired, so yeah. As long as if there's no Yush and the purchaser has, let's say it was food, and he consumed it, then he has to compensate the owner. The owner doesn't have to go to the thief. And if there wasn't Jewish, then the owner can go directly to the thief, and the purchaser won't have to lose out.
Yeah, that's true. That's what
in a
Rav
nutshell.
just said. Yeah, and although Gavin originally said it was unfair, because Gavin said originally, why should the third party lose out? Because he enjoyed the steak, man. If you go to somebody and says, I'm having everybody for steaks and chops, and you didn't realize the guy was a kleptomaniac, and you had a 500-gram steak and you enjoyed it, okay, it's lousy compared to getting it for free, but I mean, you enjoyed the steak, man. Not a problem.
Yeah. What's happening with Arthur there is like at a pyrotechnic exhibition.
Yeah, it is. It's
a fireworks display. Arthur.
Arthur, is there
Arthur,
a way to
what
get
was
oil
that, eh?
out of a shirt? I was eating something with oil went.
Check on YouTube or Google.
Okay.
Hey, stain remover does stain remover. Arthur, what was that in the background? It looked like you had a fireworks display or
It looked like water, actually.
a bonfire.
It's in my pocket while I was talking to my son.
They're just phoning for Gavin.
Let's stop the recording.
No, I'm happy. I'll edit it once it's done.
How's Michael Kupovitz doing?
He's doing good. I need to give him a call, actually. I haven't spoken to him for a while.
Jeez, it's like 2 years. When did he leave? It's more than a year that he left this year.
Yeah.
A year and a half, maybe, or 2 years.
I don't know. Actually, not sure. He's doing good. I keep in touch with him. I don't kick people out of my lives if they don't want to attend my share. I just love to see them every day. That's all. Yeah, people go through different levels of religious interest, you know.
Yeah, no, sure. And I was speaking to a guy the other day. It's not all or nothing. You don't have. I know people that have tried to do every single thing and they drop out. Do the basics, and if you can't, because all or nothing is a very unhealthy way of looking at things.
It is a very unhealthy way of looking at things, actually. It actually is.
Yeah, it's and people mustn't put the guilt trip on someone because somebody might learn 6 hours a day. Maybe someone learns 10 minutes a day. It's still learning. And for their level, at that particular stage, maybe they can improve in the future, but it's not nothing. You know what I mean? It's not still something.
I agree. I agree with you.
I was speaking to a guy the other day, a certain guy from the base, like a serious religious guy, and he said he learns as much as he can, and he goes through difference for him, but he also went to the Lionel Richie concert with his wife the other day. I mean, a month ago.
I didn't know
And
Lionel
he goes,
yeah, wow.
And maybe 2 months ago, or I don't know when he was here, but he went to see the show with his wife.
I think that's balanced.
The show didn't go on all night long.
It's not like the Queen song, The Show Must Go On. All right, let's
yeah.
back. All right. Do you have unmute yourself, Putty?
Yeah, unmute.
All right, so let me just say what I was saying. So according to the Rav Chisda thing on Saturday night, you said, no, it's not fair and everything. And the point I made, and you did think about it in your merit, you do think about things, is I said, listen, you went to a friend's house. He said there was going to be steak and chops and whatever, and you had a 500-gram steak, and you had a good meal. Okay, afterwards you figured the guy was a kleptomaniac from Kosher World, and he landed up having to pay it back or whatever, and you figure, okay, I ate it. I paid it like I would if I bought it. Not as nice as getting it for free, but I ate it. I got the benefit. So it's not that tragic, Adam. You know?
No. I just get upset that he has to pay twice, though. That's the problem.
He's not paying twice. I don't know why you keep getting this.
No, in some cases, if he's eating the food, he's not paying. But when he buys a product, then he is paying twice. That's the part that upsets me a bit.
He's not. He's paying once. He's paying once and not getting the benefit of what he paid. And you know what? That's what happens when you buy it from an illegitimate source and you think you're getting a discount. When they interviewed Bernie Madoff, he said, I never ever conned an honest person. Anybody that thinks they're going to double their money in investment is greedy. And it was only on their greed that I earned money. Now, don't worry, that guy's going to go to Gehenna. Believe me, because of what he did. But it takes a certain essential level of greediness, which creates a short-sightedness. Because if you're buying from a legitimate store, then you're not going to have this sort of issue. And according to the remedy of the marketplace, the rabbis felt it was unfair to a certain point, because what would happen then is somebody would only go to a Woolies or a Checkers to buy and not to a small vendor. And therefore, a person that had a small little shop was excluded from customers because they wouldn't trust him. And that's why not everybody can build a chain of stores with a good reputation. They instituted the remedy of the marketplace. That's exactly why they instituted that, even though biblically there was no reason why, if you take something that doesn't belong to you, even if you buy it as a third party, you're punished, because the person cannot be punished because he's an innocent victim. The buyer should have known better in terms of illegitimacy, so somewhat to blame. He's not as blameless as the thief, but he's not as blameless as the victim. Okay? And then the remedy of the marketplace, what it did is it said, listen, if you're a small business and you can't afford to build up that sort of reputation of guarantees in a superstore, we don't want a person to flounder. And therefore, they're given an opportunity, according to the rabbinic declaration, of instituting this remedy of the marketplace, that as long as he has a slip, and even if the stall owner did a duck or whatever, there's some form of recourse that he has to be paid for the goods. However, it changes when the thief is discovered, because when the thief is discovered, I'm going to say, as the original owner, I don't want the headache of actually claiming from the thief. You bought it from that charlatan. Hello, my special cat. You bought it from the charlatan. Therefore, that's your aggravation, Gavin. If you can't get it from the original person, it's like buying a car and the guy's not sorting out a warranty. That's your purchase problem. I was actually innocent. It was on my dining room table. It belonged to me. So you go through the aggravation. And therefore, you're not protected by the remedy of the marketplace when the thief is discovered. You get that?
Yes, I do. I do. Thank you.
Okay, so that's
Yeah,
not unreasonable.
No, I do know about the marketplace. I keep forgetting about it. Yeah, that's a sort of a compensatory sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, but what
But
I'm saying is when the thief is discovered, the buyer has the option of suing the thief when he hands over his goods. So that's why that rabbinic enactment falls away. Yeah.
What do you mean when the thief is discovered? When it's by who and how? How?
Okay, so there's two situations. There's when the thief disappears, and after a certain time, if there's Yush and a change of domain, the buyer gets to keep it. Or if it's a case where the guy did a duck, Gavin bought from the Rosebank flea market. He bought it legitimately from Ahmed. Ahmed did a duck and everything else. And therefore, the thief is not discovered. At a certain point, there were 100 people that went to the Rosebank flea market to protest that they were going to burn the place down for for allowing such a low life to trade there. So the owner of the Rosebank flea market turned around and said, listen, guys, did as a vendor, I'm not supposed to declare this, but even though he's ducked, he did have a traceable phone number. You contact a private investigator, and they were able to trace the number, or they had some form of address for him, or some way where the thief eventually is discovered. And therefore, the situation becomes different. The buyers no longer enjoy the remedy of the marketplace because they've got a thief whom to sue, and the original owners just want their stuff back. It's not their problem. Remedy of the marketplace is only to protect the buyer that the original owner, the victim, suffers, that he has to pay the buyer in order to get his stuff back. Okay? But that's an issue only of the tricky, because rabbinically, if there's no yush, you would have to, you wouldn't get to keep it as the buyer. So I'm sure there are certain opinions that say the biblical law still takes place, and it's returned to the original victim. Because why here should the victim have to suffer at all? Why should he have to suffer if there's no recourse? So I'm sure there are opinions that say that, he doesn't have to compensate the buyer, and he gets to give over the goods immediately. We know that's the halacha. Him suing, him requesting the money from the original owner, is a rabbinical enactment. So we know that that's a fact. But there's certain circumstances that prevail. Now I'm going to just explain to you tomorrow, because we've got 3 minutes left, the rule quickly of the Kohanim, Rav Zaved and Rav Papa, and then I'm happy to go to a new thing, because I think we've done this thing enough. Did today help at all today with clarity, Gav? At all? Because we've more time.
Sure. Listen, we have to hear it quite a lot. There's a lot of names going on there. I still don't know it with the names. But
no, as long as you understand the concept, is it better today than if...
Yeah, each like sort of independently, but as soon as you join it together, like sometimes you'll refer to, you'll say this rabbi and this rabbi agrees with that rabbi. We don't really remember what that rabbi said, type of thing. So it's quite tricky for us. We're not good with names. I'm one of them. I've got 5 of my own. For me, it's very difficult. So what happens, I'm just trying to absorb the content, which is hard enough for me.
That's all I want, is that you observe.
When I leave out the names, it makes it otherwise, if I concentrate on the names, then I can't absorb the content. I battle, you know what I'm saying? I can't seem to multitask it. It's something I have a problem with. I think it's because of fibromyalgia. So I really battle that.
As long as
you content.
You particularly good at it. I think there's people that are just average at it. We probably like very average at it, and you're very good at it. So we don't have that gift, unfortunately. But I think we all pretty much got the idea. Just to give it over the way you did is nearly impossible for us because of the names.
All right, I'm not asking to give it over, as long as you've got a bit of a better sense today. Tomorrow we'll just do
yes. Each Gavin helps 100%.
So you, Gavin, so you are content if you're happy about the content, not only That's the main issue. Not the overall content makes you content.
That's it.
That's it.
Is that a very high? Did I say something at a very
No,
high
I
intellectual
think
level?
you just worked me out 100% to a T.
Was that
Yeah.
very intellectual of
Damon.
me, Gavin?
Yes.
Damon,
Well,
what you saying that
I'm content
Okay.
now.
buyer?
Is Arthur content?
Well, he's a king. I don't know. Do kings
Yeah,
become
you
content
should be,
ever?
exactly.
They can never have enough.
Yeah,
Damon, can you
exactly.
hear me?
Yeah,
Damon?
just hang on,
It's
guys.
You're saying that a buyer is protected by a buyer.
Yeah, and Rabbi is not a robber.
Yeah.
Okay.